Hello everybody, welcome to the latest video, and we have the new Chaos Demon Prince. This is for 40k and Age of Sigmar. It's up on its own now. It used to only be able to get it from the Slaves to Darkness box, but now you can grab it on its own. Games Workshop very kindly sent me this one to review. You can build it. Let me just bring the instructions in quickly, and also you'll see the repos that I've been doing from that. So this is the zoom out. There you go. So this is the Age of Sigmar version. That's the 40k version. There are parts which kind of interchange. Like for instance, the Age of Sigmar shoulder pad is quite nice. Although the 40k one, arguably, if you are going to build it for 40k, there's the 40k one. Whoops, there's the 40k one. If you are going to build it for 40k, the 40k one is probably cooler. It's got like 4 eyes, a little bit more demonic. Anyway, it's a really cool model. It's a really cool kit. I thought I would just try a bit of a repose for anybody who knows a lot of the conversions and tweaks that I do regularly. I try to shift the pose and the dynamic kind of angles and aesthetic of models just a little bit. Like this one is it's a very straight on model, so he's got his legs, his hips and his chest and his shoulders all kind of facing one way. And one of the things I like to do is I like to do a little bit of a torso twist, so just kind of twist at the waist. And as soon as you twist at the waist, I find you get slightly cooler poses. It just looks slightly more well, hopefully you can see straight away. You get slightly cooler poses. You end up with a bit more of a dynamic storytelling pose. It's like as soon as you put a bit of a torso twist in here, then you can have I can twist the torso either this way or I can twist it that way. Always like if there's a leg up, I always kind of like twisting the torso towards the leg, because then he's kind of haunching up and turning and looking over his shoulder, sort of thing. But as soon as you put a torso twist in, you can twist it that way, or you can twist it this way, and then you end up with a head. Like it very much determines a direction which things are happening, rather than just standing square on. So I just thought I'd talk through this a little bit. I should have, yes, I'm sorry, I should have recorded it as I was doing it, but I didn't think it was going to be, honestly, I didn't think it was going to turn out this cool. I'm really pleased with it. Anyway, we'll remove his head, we'll remove his arm, and we will remove his backpack as well, because then we can talk a little bit more about how I did it. So it's quite straightforward, actually. If we bring the instructions up, as you're building through the instructions, we'll just zoom out again. Sorry, I'm doing some gold demon painting as well, so this is just off screen. As you're building through it, as soon as you get to here, so this is as far as you need to build. So as soon as you get to here, there is a line all the way across the torso. There's like just above where the belt goes on. So just before you put all this belt on here, there's a line that runs all the way across the torso, which you can very easily just kind of sit there and slowly work away with a knife. Make sure you have a nice fresh blade in there. But one of the issues with the new style Games Workshop kits, where they're getting all these weird registration joins and splices and slices for when you put the models together, is that it makes it very difficult to then convert. Now, one of the things that helps is putting the model together a little bit, and then kind of looking at where you want to cut. So, for instance, with this one, so once you get like the legs and the torso together, these bits, all these extra panels and parts aren't really on it. So you don't need to put all these on. But once you get up to that point where you have the thighs and the torso together, what you can do is you can see where the joint is, because there's lots of glue there. What you can do is you can just sit there with a knife and cut the torso all the way around, and then you end up with all the bits glued together, and then the torso comes off. Once you've done that, it twists really easily, and it twists and it relocates pretty much every direction. So you could have it it would be quite cool to have it looking this way. So if you could imagine the torso's looking this way, the backpack's on the back there, and then the head is looking over here, you end up with a very, very different looking pose. It ends up being very wide. So he's turning, and he's got his weight on his back foot here. He's ready to come forward. He's got his tail coming around there. I twisted it the other way. I always like trying to twist into some motion. So he's as soon as you twist into that motion as well, this arm, you'll see there's a little bit of a gap and everything around here. This arm always looks better when it's kind of pulled back, so he's almost stalking then, and then it gives you an option for the other arm. So if you pull this arm back, you can either have this arm back as well, so like that, and then you end up with that really, really nice weapon line behind him as well. So if the weapon is back like that, it really makes him like a really cool menacing little pose. Dynamic in terms of he's got a lot of potential movement. Like he's standing there, he's got plenty of energy in his legs, and he's going to come forwards. And then the other one, you can bring I am tacky substance to everything together. The other angle that you can put the arm, of course, then is a little bit further forward. So as soon as you get the other arm coming forward, then you've got a bit more direction with where he wants to go. So that's, in my opinion, the two options on where you're going to pose. I wouldn't put, like, that just doesn't work. Like, nobody's going to stand there like that unless you're Braveheart at the beginning of the freedom. So I try to keep it dynamic, but it's such a kind of a menacing pose like that. So if we just drop that arm on, there we go. This arm is going to be a little bit trickier to do because I'm going to need to trim a lot of this under the lats and everything underneath here. I'm going to have to trim those back a little bit because at the moment it doesn't fit. As you can see, the cable there hits the lats and stops it going in neatly. But that's the kind of pose that that's the kind of pose that I want on this. It's very, very easy and straightforward to do. It's just going to need a little bit of filling. Now, one benefit with stuff like this, when you're messing around with shoulders in 40k, you end up with big shoulder pads which cover all the gaps. So there's a shoulder pad, and now you can't see any of the gaps on the shoulder. So shoulder pads in 40k and Age of Sigmar, when you have access to shoulder pads, they're an absolute godsend because you can make a right mess. Like this over here, there's a lot of gaps over here on the shoulder where I've just kind of pulled the arm back a little bit, so he's got this pose and he's pulled that arm back, but all those gaps will go away as soon as you put the shoulder pad on because it just covers them up. So that's really, really cool. Now, the head position as well. Now we can either have, I'm not convinced. Let me show you all the different head options. So there are some really cool head options. Now this is for my Night Lords. Where are the head options in here? On the back, there we go. So this is for my Night Lords army. My Night Lords are all going to be a little bit more Khorne orientated. So we're going to have some flesh hounds and things. We're going to do some blood crushers as well, if I can try and get some blood crushers in there, and Khorne berserkers. So when the Khorne berserkers come out, I'm going to try and paint those up as my Night Lords as well. But these are the four head options. So you have the Tzeentch one, Slaanesh, you got Nurgle down. I really like the Nurgle one, which is very very uncharacteristic for me. I'm not really a big Nurgle fan. And then the Khorne one, and then that's the regular 40k one, which is this one that I've got. And I'd love to kind of combine some. I'm not sure whether I could. Yeah, I'd quite like that one, but remove some of the Slaanesh. And that's very Night Lords with the horns up. This one as well, but there's just a little bit too much hair on it for me. So if I could kind of combine that head and maybe the Khorne horns, that would be probably my favourite. I might see if I can do that, cut the horns off and add it on. However, the position of the head is also going to change the look of this model as well. So if we just throw the backpack on very, very carefully. See if we can get that backpack on there. Trying not to disturb the arm. So this cable is going to have to get trimmed back a little bit, because you can see it just stops that. Stops the arm going on particularly well. The sword, by the way, for anybody who knows me, knows I love really cool, long, big sword weapons. I've done lots of conversions on the Night Lords with chain glaives, and this is quite simply just the axe. So it normally just sits like that. So it's normally just the axe. So if you cut the axe head off, and then you cut the sword off the sword handle and put them together, you end up with this really, really cool glaive, demonic glaive, which I think is awesome. And when he pops into the wrist, I'm going to trim this a little bit. So it normally sits like that. I'm going to trim it so that it has got a little bit more of a dynamic angle. Again, any kind of little angles and twists, you can put tiny little twists in like that makes such a big difference, and then those little differences all add up for when you're doing the final model. So we'll put that pose in there. There we go. That'll do for a bit. That'll do for the purpose of the video. And then the head. So we can either have the head, if the head was looking this way, then he's kind of going against his pose. He's looking quite straight. The tongue's gone a little bit loose. He's looking quite straight. So again, we've got a twist where the hips, the chest, and the shoulders are kind of going all against each other, and then his head is coming back this way as well. However, if you turn him this way and you put his head this way, then you have hips, chest, shoulders, head. And then he's just all twisting. Everything is all twisting around in this direction, and you end up with this awesome pose that finishes up like this. So that's where we're going to finish. There his tongue has gone now. His tongue has fallen out. I actually quite prefer it without his tongue, so we might leave his tongue out. I'll put a little bit of glue in there and just try and kind of soften that out. But you'll see as well, if we drop that shoulder pad on there, that's how the finished pose is going to look. And then we'll get him nicely elevated on his base as well. So there it is. Hope you enjoyed the very, very short video. I'm sorry I got carried away and did the whole conversion off camera. Next time I am doing a couple more conversions and reposes on kits which are coming out, so I will make sure that I get those recorded. But there we go. Everything's falling off now. I may as well drop the arm off as well. And there you go. Oh yeah, the only other thing is I cut a little bit of the tail away, and then twisted the tail, so the tail is coming around this way as well a little bit more. And all I'll do is I'll just fill that gap with a little bit of putty. That's hidden very much behind all the armor and this arm here. So as long as it's smooth in there, push a little bit of putty in there, and then smooth it all out. You're not going to notice that at all because it's all hidden by all of this. So it's not going to be like if you're going to do that. If you're going to paint something like this for Golden Demon, then obviously that's going to have to. I'd probably have done the putty before I put the arm on, so that I can really get a nice join in there, and it disguises the fact that it's a bit of putty, but it's just like a high-end gaming piece. It's the leader of the army, so that'll be fine. Yes, I should have done that before I glued the arm on, but hey, never mind. So there you go. I hope that was enjoyable. I know a few of you have been asking for a slightly more in-depth video on the repose, and that is literally how it's done. You assemble the legs, you assemble the thighs and the torso, and then once that's all together, slice off the torso, and then you are free to twist it wherever you like. You might need to take a little bit of the abs off. I think just in here. Just in there, I took a little bit of the abs off there, so it sit behind that belt buckle. But other than that, there is. We'll throw the head back on for you. There is the repose of the really, really cool new everything's falling apart. We're not going to get there, are we? The repos of the really, really cool new Chaos Demon prints. Thank you very much for Games Workshop for sending me the preview copy. There you go. Thanks everybody. I'll see you on the next video.